Hi, guys. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm so excited to interview a guest that was referred to me from a previous guest, Avita. And today's guest is Chelsea. Chelsea is also a transaction coordinator with the Morby group. And I look forward to getting to know her. So thank you so much, Chelsea, for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be able to do this.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much. So I usually like to just start off with finding out a little bit more about your background and how you, became a transaction coordinator. So can you just take us back a little ways?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started working as an acquisitionist for a wholesaling company, a creative finance wholesaling company. Some people may have heard of it. It's called the Creative Finance Playbook with Jen and Joe Delfabe. And so I started with them as an acquisitionist in 2020 now.
Okay.
I did that for, it was actually quite interesting. My business partner and I went and we were like, we're going to do this for 6 months. Like we knew it was hard, but we really wanted to learn it. So we promised ourselves at least 6 months. And so we started and then we just kept going. We learned that was where I built my foundation of creative finance. They're super
Nice.
knowledgeable of creative financing. And luckily I had one-on-one time to be able to learn it from them for free, right? I was working for them. So they were teaching me as I was working for them, which was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was like, I highly recommend anybody that wants to be a creative finance transaction coordinator, like start with the basics and then work your way up. But started off as acquisitionist, talking to sellers, cold calling, cold DMing, like learning all about wholesaling. And then after that, I'm a project manager by background.
Okay.
So I'm that type A personality that's in everyone's face, constantly following up, pestering, coordinating everybody,
Yes.
taking notes, all of the above. So eventually they were looking for a position. And I was like, you know what? I really want to get more involved. So I asked, I didn't even know what the position was at the time. I didn't know what a transaction coordinator was. I knew nothing. And I was like, you know what? I want another position. Like, hey, what else you guys got for me? So they were
Yeah.
like, actually, you would be perfect for this. And I was like, all right, great. Sign me up. Let's go. So they were trying to kind of tell me what it was, but I think they were still trying to figure it out
Yeah.
too, of like what
Yeah.
it would entail. So about at very end of December 2020, jumped straight into that, started transactioning their deals. And then from there, just kind of started doing it organically. So I was working for them doing it. And then there weren't a lot of us around back then.
Yeah.
So we would have buyers and the buyers would buy the deals. And then they would actually come back to me after the fact and say, hey, can you transact this other deal for me? So
Perfect.
then over the next few years, I kind of started to just keep doing it. And I took a little break in 2023.
Hmm.
Then I picked it back up earlier this year, joined Top Tier because I was like, man, I wish that I would have had something like this when I first started.
Right.
A community, people to learn from, just all the resources that Top Tier provides, which is the Pace Morby group you were mentioning previously. And here we are today.
And here you are. Oh man, that's
Yeah.
so cool. That's so cool. So you basically got to learn on the job with real estate with that wholesaling company.
Yep.
And then how did they even know about the transaction coordinator role? Or was it something that they just kind of created out of thin air? Or were they in communication like with the Pace Morby group?
That's actually a great question. I don't know how they came up with it. It literally one day. So the way that the company was structured, we almost had, I don't like a leader above us. So we
Mhm.
had Jen and Joe that were at the top, and then we had a woman that had worked with them prior to us, like several months. So she was kind of like a leader over us.
Yeah.
And she was the one that was really advertising it. So I called her one day and was just like, hey, can I try this? I don't know what it is. I don't know what you guys are looking for. And she was like, you would, like I said, you would be perfect. Where they actually found out about it, that's a good question because this is really when like creative
So
TC was
new.
starting to come, yeah, to really come.
Yeah.
And it's interesting talking to other like old school TCs that really grew with the sub two group of like, we just had this random group on the side that all of us were just interested in it. And we started meeting and it kind of developed from
Really?
there.
That's
Yeah.
really
So,
cool.
and what's interesting is like when I was first starting, if you came across another TC on your deal, it was like gold because I was like, oh my gosh, I have somebody else that I can collaborate with. I can
Yeah.
see how somebody else is doing this because I had nothing. You couldn't Google creative
Yeah.
finance TC. That
Right.
wasn't a thing then. And it's not like residential working for a real estate agent. Those types of TCs are very different than a creative. So it was one of those things where you're just kind of shooting in the dark and hoping that it works. And then
Yeah.
constantly evolving and talking to title companies and attorneys and figuring out this works, but this doesn't. Yeah, it was a lot of guess and check. And along the way, I started working for another wholesaler Romans Academy with Mike and Jay Scarpa. And they actually, they were one of my main clients at the time. And so I was really able to get involved with them. And we developed this TC process, and I use a lot of it nowadays. Obviously, it's evolved since then, but they really helped to get a good baseline. And I mean, their wholesaling system is just like out of this world. It's great.
Really?
And it was, really cool to be a part of that and like help develop it and move forward.
That is so incredible. You've been like around the block, it sounds like, and you've probably experienced like almost every type of transaction that you could coordinate by this point.
I've experienced a lot. That's one of the benefits of creative finance, is that there's always something that somebody can think of, or there's something new that happens.
Yeah.
And that's why I love being a part of the community now, because it's not just me and my experience, or like me and like, let's say, one wholesaler. It's me and the community's experience. So if I can't answer it, there's definitely somebody else in the community, like you said, that has experienced it. Because some of these wholesalers, some of these investors, I mean, the stuff that they come up with, I'm like, I don't know how you did it, but it is so impressive. And let's see if we can figure it out. Like, let's see.
Like an art form.
Yeah,
right?
no, really. Yeah. They come to us with these problems, and it's fun because it is a lot about problem solving. And like, okay, how do we make this work? Or, hey, we had this issue. What do we do now? So it's been very rewarding. But yeah, I've seen a lot of things, not everything yet.
Well, like you say, they keep coming up with new things, probably just getting more and more and more creative.
Yep. And with the regulations with wholesaling, you're starting to now see even more. Like I've come across a lot of different things of how structuring, like land trusts, for example, are starting to come a lot more into play. And it's been fun. I really enjoy when somebody brings something like that to you, because it's an opportunity to learn and be like, oh, is this better than the way I was doing it before? And so it's been awesome.
Got it. Oh, I love that. It sounds fun and exciting. And I love that you obviously have like an insatiable desire to keep learning. And so that's why you're like, bring it on. I want to learn this. I want to try that. And so then all these opportunities continue to come to you. And then, like you mentioned earlier, the repeat business, you did something with them and they want to do it again and again.
Yeah. Which makes it so much easier for TCs, to be honest with you. If you're working with the same person over and over again, you just keep refining your process and it gets better. And at that point, you're being integrated into their business, so that it's easier on them, and it's also easier on you, because you can answer their questions. You can get a streamlined process in how their business works and adapting to their business, so that they get a contract, it goes to you, and then you take off. You build that trust with them. It's a really beautiful relationship that you can develop.
That's so cool. So speaking for a newbie TC, are there opportunities out there for new TCs to get involved on a team of TCs?
Good question. Yes, absolutely. And I will say, when I first came to Top Tier, I had no idea that teams existed. I just thought this was a community. You could just use each other as resources. And then I learned about this whole team thing. And I was like, wow, this is great. I'm actually on a team.
Good. Okay. Yeah. That was one of my next questions. Like, what is your situation?
So absolutely recommend, if you are a newbie and you don't feel confident in learning how to do your own deals, so by JVing or shadowing with somebody, I would absolutely recommend joining a team. There's a ton of teams out there, and they're all very good. Now, obviously, interview them, make sure that it's the right fit for you, because even though all the teams are great, you're going to learn a lot. Not every team culture is the same. So you really want to make sure that it's just like a job, right? You're interviewing for what you want.
Yeah.
I decided personally to join a team because, one, I like teams. I like working as a team as opposed to myself. But again, it also is the opportunity to, I'm with the TC Collective, and I saw that their vision was bigger, and they're kind of ahead of the curve a little bit in getting into the operating. So like then the next step I'll say is like getting into operators for businesses. And they all have a lot of experience with TCing. And so for me, that was, well, I could either be by myself and have my experience, or I could be on a team and have the experience of 6 people.
The whole team.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So it was one of those things where I know how to TC, but there's a lot of other stuff I don't know how to do. And so I really wanted to be, 1, on a team, and 2, part of something like that. And then, I mean, all the women on that team are just rock stars.
Amazing.
So I was like, if I'm going to be on a team, I want to be on a team with people that are a lot smarter than me, and have them teach me and learn what to do. So it's been super rewarding. Yeah.
That is so cool. So then who do these teams just kind of like organically form? Like a couple people get together and decide to team up, or are these teams like their own companies and there's like a a lead person and then they're, hiring for other TCs to join them? Or how does that work?
So all teams are different, I'll say. I can speak for the TC Collective. It grew organically. The three women that run the TC Collective came together, and then they slowly have been bringing on TCs.
Nice.
So we currently have 4 TCs, and then the founders. But I
Okay.
know that there's other companies out there. They do internships. They offer shadowing. There's a whole gamut. And so that gets back to the
Well,
point of, depending on what you're looking for,
mhm.
is right, finding the right team. Some teams make you go out and find your own clients and then bring them back, and then they'll help you with the deal. Some teams already have a bunch of deal flow coming in.
Mhm.
And so if you just want to be able to TC, that's perfect for you.
Oh,
I've
nice.
So again, do you want to learn marketing skills? Then it might help you to go to this type of team versus another team where they're just going to be feeding you deals. Are you ready to take on that many, all of the
Yeah.
above. So it definitely make sure that depending on what you're looking for, you can go out and interview them and make sure it's the right fit.
I love that. I also appreciate that in the world of real estate, you can get clear on what you want and pursue it, but then you might learn that, oh, I like this or I'm interested in that. And there's just such a huge variety that you can continue to learn, and it really never gets old,
Yeah, exactly. It
So
gets
much to
back to
do.
the point of like, there's always something new. There's
Oh,
always
yeah.
something happening. So you will never reach the ceiling of I know everything.
Yeah. No, that's incredible. And is your team all across the country?
Yep. So we have, yes, I think actually now we're in all time zones.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah, I'm
awesome.
trying to think. We're either in all time zone or we're missing one, but I'm pretty sure we're in all time zones now. So
That's so cool. Are you
yeah,
guys connected throughout the day, like in like an instant messaging, forum, something like that?
luckily it's not. So Slack is the platform that we use
Okay.
to be able to communicate back and forth. And then we
Uh-huh.
have some meetings and office hours throughout the week.
Mhm.
But I mean, like some of us are working on deals together. So
Mhm.
if your communication style is Slack, then Slack. If it's texting, it's texting. If it's
Yeah.
email, it's email. So luckily we're very diverse, but
Nice.
it's fortunate enough that it's not, you have to pay attention to Slack every second to answer the team. And no,
Yeah.
it's very lucrative, and they pretty much trust us to be able to move forward
Just
if we
get it
can.
done.
Exactly. And if we have questions, then we can answer like they'll answer them,
Yeah.
or we'll answer them together, or whatever it might be.
And like you said, you're on a rock star team, so
Yes.
it's the best.
Exactly.
I
Yes.
love
I
that.
have to hype up our team.
I love that. Yeah. Just smart people all around. That's so cool. And everyone's probably extra good at certain things, so you can collaborate.
Yep. And everyone has exactly like you're saying. So I haven't worked like I primarily focus on like East Coast. I'm nationwide, but that's just where a lot of my deals have come, just
Yeah.
from networking and stuff like that. But we have one woman who's in Arizona, and a lot of her, like pretty much all of her business comes from Arizona.
Sure.
So even, that's also awesome, because then you can collaborate on, hey, I'm doing a deal in this state. Have you done
Yeah.
one? Yes. Here's somebody that knows creative financing,
Yeah.
because that's another challenge with creative TCing, is finding title companies and attorneys that are creative friendly. That is not, and even if they
Yes.
say they're creative friendly,
They
you
might
have
not
to
realize.
continue. Exactly. They may not be when you actually get down to the wire, or they don't offer title insurance, or, whatever. They may not do FHA and VA loans. So it's
Yeah.
really important to know who those people are. And then if you don't have a good title company and they're not communicative, it just makes your job harder. So finding those gems, I like to call
Yeah.
them, throughout
The
the,
country.
title. Yeah, exactly. Title and attorney industry is really, really helpful. And then, just as a reflection on your deal, right? If you're working with a good title company or attorney, it just makes the process with your client so much easier, and not constantly having to be like waiting for a response back from the title company, waiting for a response back from the title company. So
Yes. Yes. Okay. So you really get plugged into a network as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, that's a great way to say it.
I love that. So the team dynamic is sounding very, very appealing. What qualities or assets can you imagine for a newer TC that they could offer to a team so that they seem appealing to the team,
Yeah.
like bring to the table?
The biggest thing that I would say for a new TC is just the desire to learn, right? Just being a sponge and soaking up all the information. But then also just the hard work, like making sure that if you do get to work on a deal with a more experienced TC, for example, like offer to do those little things that take
Yeah.
time so that you
Okay.
can continue to learn, because all of them are important. So anything from saving all your documents in, we use Google Drive to save a lot of our documents down.
Mhm.
So even saving documents down in Google Drive and then reviewing all the documents, taking your own notes, right? Making sure that you're reminding of things as, maybe the one TC is not, they're doing it, but maybe you're like, hey, just a friendly reminder, right? Like helping with those things of keeping everything organized is
It's a
huge.
big help.
So, or even being like as you're starting to learn, you get 2 or 3 deals in, being the face of the deal, but then having help behind the scenes, like
Mhm.
having that courage to say, I can do this. I just need to put my training wheels on. Can you be my
There you
training
go.
wheels and help me through this?
Love
Which,
that.
yeah, I've done with newer TCs before, and it's great because you're able, when they're doing it, they learn so much more than kind of side saddling and letting
Yes.
you run it. So I always like to, I just did this with a TC where they were running it and then I was kind of consulting in the background.
Perfect.
And then it was one of those things where next deal we had talked about, hey, let's flip this. Let me run it and you see how I'm running it. And then we can flip it again. And that way you can
Love
see how I
that.
do it and so on and so forth. And so they're really getting good hands-on experience because, I mean, you said it at the very beginning, the best way that I learned was not just sitting and watching videos,
Right.
like just doing it. And unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity to sit there and watch videos to even
Right.
understand what I was doing. It was like, I'm just going to push myself in the, I don't even know
You had to
like
learn
what I
as you
was thinking.
went.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I pushed myself in the deep end, no floaties, no nothing, and just like, let's go, let's figure out how to swim. And
Good for
luckily, I
you.
had a really good, I was working for that wholesaling company and they were so
Yeah.
familiar with creative financing that I learned a lot from them. And then just came across a lot of really awesome title companies,
Yeah.
attorneys, and a couple of TCs that just also helped me to be able to really learn and refine the process.
That's so cool. So do most of your most of your team's files, do they come from inside the community or do they also come from outside sources?
Mainly inside the community because a lot of our team is in sub two. I'm personally not in
Oh,
sub two, but
okay.
a lot of our team is.
Got it.
And so a lot of them come from the sub two community. But I mean, when I was doing this, I think I had maybe one client that was in sub two. Outside of that, I didn't have any sub two clients.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
yeah, so it was definitely a mix.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. And then can you speak to the work-life balance? I've heard that TCs love their work-life balance, and like Molly talks about how you can be, a mom and, still have your kids and get this done. But then I've also heard that some TCs have to be just constantly glued to their email throughout the day, so they actually don't feel that freedom. What's your take on that?
So I would say it depends on how many deals you're comfortable with running. And it
That makes
also
sense.
depends on what your goals are and what you're comfortable with. So if you are running 20 deals, you're going to probably have a lot to do on your plate.
Probably a full-time job at that point.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. The
Okay.
one good thing about TCing is that you can do it from anywhere. It's not right. You don't have to be sitting in front of your desk. You could be walking on a treadmill at the gym and answering emails on your phone. If you choose that. If
Yeah.
you choose an hour throughout the day that you're not going to answer phones, then put your phone on silent and go do that. But
Okay.
the thing I will say with TCing is that there are certain times that you do need to probably be plugged in.
Mhm.
And so while they'll say it's time freedom, it's not 100% time freedom, at least depending on how you want to run your business. So like for me, I'm very, call me a control freak. I don't care. But I'm very, when I
That's
have a
great.
quote, yeah, yes, thank you. I got to change my mindset on that. But when I have a closing for somebody, I'm plugged into that closing, right? And I am very much available so that, and I'm checking in constantly, like I'm answering
Yeah.
questions. I want to make sure that at that closing, I know what's going on to make sure that we're continuing to move through the process. Funds
For
are
sure.
getting transferred on time, documents are getting signed. So for me, that's very hands on. And then if
Mhm.
you have, right, 3 closings that week, yeah, you're going to be very plugged in.
Got
Now,
it.
you could only have 5 deals. You're not going to be anywhere near as busy.
Okay.
So it really just depends. And then it also depends on the type of client that you want to work with too. So there's nothing wrong with this. A lot of new investors that are new to creative financing are going to be a lot more hands-on with a lot more questions. They've never worked with a TC before. So there's going to be a lot more involvement versus
Mhm.
somebody that you've worked with 5, 10, 15 times. They're going to trust the process and they're going to know that you're going to do the same thing that you did on the last deal. So it's
Got
going
it.
to be a lot different of an involvement. So I hate saying, like, it's basically an attorney's
Yeah.
answer of like, it just depends. If you want to
That was
run,
a great answer because you gave the scenarios of why it just depends.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
in summary, if you want to run your business a certain way and have this many hours, then that is a reflection based on how many deals you take on and the type of deals that
Yeah.
you take on.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that. And then back to the team dynamic, is it like if a new TC gets brought into a team, do they just do like a commission split? Is that how that works on just as the file gets maybe fed their direction, then they partner up, like say with you, and then you two decide on a commission split and that's how it's handled?
So I only interviewed a couple teams, so I can't speak for everyone if some of them have like a flat fee or whatever else.
Yeah.
With the team that I'm working on, yes, it's a split. And if there's a referral, so let's say one of the women get a deal in, but then they want to hand it off to you as a referral, then
Yeah.
there's a different split for that. So,
Sure.
and I believe a lot of other teams function like that. Here's the amount that would go to the overhead for the business, and then here's the amount that would come to you, for example.
Okay, gotcha. So it's a give and take. It sounds like you might make a little bit less money potentially per deal, but you also might make more money because you might get a lot more deal flow through a team than you
Yep,
would on your own.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And you're getting the
Like that.
skills,
Yeah.
right, to be able to, you're basically learn exactly like I did. You're learning for free
Yeah.
because you're working on a deal and you're getting paid at the same time. Now, is it 100%? No, but when you first start off, you probably shouldn't be charging as much as someone who has, a
Of
couple years
course.
under your belt anyways. So
Yeah.
it's that experience of, okay, just learn from top tier. Now, how do I take this and go apply it? It's like
Yeah.
graduating college. You can't
Yes.
graduate in college from engineering and then go be the best engineer ever, right? It takes all of that
Yeah.
time. And it's the same exact principle with TC.
Okay. Love it. Love it. In your experience in the industry over the last few years, would you say that it's ramping up and up and up and that there's going to be plenty of work ahead of us in the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, it's definitely. So here's the thing. The work is ramping, but the amount of TCs are also ramping.
Okay. Yeah.
Just to kind of put it in perspective. So when I first started, like I said, there was like no other creative TCs. I mean, it was
Right.
very few of us. And now there's a whole program for it and they're putting TCs out all the time. So,
Yeah.
but more people are getting involved with creative financing and you can see how much it's flourished over the past 3 years, especially since PACE created this massive group that just continues to grow.
Yeah.
I mean, I talked to people that joined when they were like 600 people and they're like, I can't believe there's like thousands now. Like it's
The sub two
insane. Yes.
community.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sub 2
Yeah.
community. Yeah, exactly. So
That's cool.
yeah, it is really cool. I do continue to foresee people doing some form or fashion of creative financing. Just now that it's out in the field, it's a lot more open and people
Yeah.
are like, wow, I can do that. How do I
Knowing
do
it's a
this
thing.
now? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Especially with interest rates the way that they are and things of that nature. Now they may go down, they may not. But so yeah, I definitely foresee them continuing to be.
That's
And it'll
great.
have to continue to change because wholesaling is being regulated. So things are going to have to get a little bit more creative. So it'll be interesting, to your point, to see what happens over the next few years.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm imagining that even like, let's say there's a recession or a real estate crash or anything like that. In any of these maybe worst scenarios, that's exactly when you need creative financing.
Yep,
So
exactly.
it
Yeah.
seems like a pretty good industry to find yourself in, no matter what the economy is doing. It'd be
Yeah.
good.
And if something does happen to real estate and people, right, and now a lot of people are going to be starting to buy, if they're going to be buying everything, they're going to need somebody on the back end that's doing all the closing work. So
Right.
either way, you're going to need something, either
Yeah.
somebody to help you walk through the creative finance, or you're going to need somebody to help you deal with all the quantities.
Love it. Love it. Here's a question I have not asked before. What are qualities that would make a horrible TC? Just so
That
something
is
like
not a question that's asked. I love how you
just,
flipped that. Yes,
just,
absolutely.
just for
Oh
fun.
my
I'm
gosh.
curious. Yeah.
Somebody who is scared to follow up with people because they're scared of bothering them. This
Okay.
is right. A TC. I like to compare TC to a project manager because a lot of people can
Yeah.
understand the relation between a project manager and construction. They're constantly coordinating people. They're constantly having to follow up, making sure things are getting done. Same with,
Yeah.
for example, like a wedding planner, right?
There you go.
So it's one of those things where if you're scared to follow up with people because you're like, oh, I don't want to bother them. That doesn't work in TC. Like it just absolutely does not work
The
because if
ball's
you
getting dropped to somewhere.
100%. If you have a week to close a deal and you wait 2 days, now you only have 3 days to close that deal.
Yeah.
And so once you start a file, like every day matters. And so as much as you can get done, right when you're either waiting for title work or whatever, like as long as you're keeping that deal going so that
Yeah.
when you hit closing, it's not mass chaos of crap, I forgot all of these things and now I have to get them all done.
Yeah.
Or, oh, I just found out that the seller actually is in foreclosure or there's all this outstanding debt on the property. Oh, they didn't know about what the due on sale clause meant. Like there's so many ways that if you don't just continue to follow up, you're just, unfortunately, like it's just not going to work because you're going to really fall behind. That is the biggest thing that I will say of I find that is not good when TCs are scared to follow up. Now, there's definitely a method to the madness. You don't want to over follow up.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's kind of that fine line. And you learn that over time of like, okay, what is a good follow up based on the circumstances of that specific deal. So I'm running a deal right now that actually I got it on Thursday. Last Thursday, it's supposed to close this Friday. So my follow up is substantially different than if it was I got it last Thursday. It's not supposed to close for 30 days, right?
Of course.
I'm in these people's face like, hey guys, I don't mean to bug you again, but like we really need to move this forward or, here's this. There's a lot more involvement. And so what you'll see is a lot of TCs, when your timeline is that close, will actually charge more because they pretty much have to drop a lot of their priorities. Exactly. To continue to pay attention to this deal.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. But that was a really good question. I love that you just asked that. I've actually never been asked that before. So I would definitely say somebody that's scared of follow-up and then somebody that is not good at coordinating people.
Yeah.
If you don't like to kind of think ahead and figure out, okay, how do I like put all these pieces in place to make this timeline work? Definitely TCing is not for you. And then paperwork. If you don't like paperwork, you just can't be a TC. Like, I'm sorry, but like I'm cutting the line in the sand. If you don't like paperwork, you can't do it.
So back to the paperwork question. A lot of it is digital paperwork, probably, right? Or do you also have like files in your home office, printed papers?
I don't have files. I have had to use fax a few times.
Okay.
Which is always interesting to me because I'm like, who even has fax nowadays?
Yeah. Scan it, if anything.
Yeah. I've had to use physical paperwork. I can probably count on one hand how many times.
Okay, cool.
But there is like some servicing companies, I will say. So if you're doing a creative finance deal, you want to put a servicing company in place. A lot of times they'll require hard copies of stuff. I don't typically, how I run those is I have everything sent to the title company at closing.
And
so I get they print it out and they mail it off. So the servicing company will require you to have everything in one envelope to be able to send to them. So instead of me getting everything and then sending it off, I make sure everything is filtered to the title company at closing. And then all of that gets sent out. So it's substantially easier.
Yeah.
But otherwise, no, luckily, typically it's all virtual.
Nice. So literally, I guess stretching it here, but quite literally, could a TC operate from a different country?
Yep, absolutely. The only thing that you would have to consider at that point is time zone. And you have to consider that anyways, if you're in the East Coast and someone else is on the West Coast. But yeah, I would think the biggest thing is just making sure that you're aware of the time zone, because if you're awake when the states are sleeping and your deals are in the States, that maybe make it a little bit tricky for you because you're trying to get back to these attorneys or title companies pretty quickly normally. Yeah. So like if you have a title company that emails you during the day, you don't get back at night, then they don't get back to you during the day. You can see how the timeline starts to add up. Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it might inconvenience your sleep schedule a little bit, but it's doable.
100%. Yeah, it's definitely doable.
That's really, really cool. In the beginning, you got a lot of your experience working at a wholesale company. For a new TC that finds themselves just certified, would you recommend that they maybe go out to wholesale companies to get their experience? Or do you think that it's better to just try to make connections within the Pace Morby community?
So what I will say about working for the wholesaling companies, I learned how to talk to sellers, especially with creative financing, because it's not just a cash transaction where it's very black and white most of the times. There is a way to talk to sellers and making sure that they understand and communicate to them all of the things that have to do with the creative finance, because there are risks, right? There are things that you need to consider as a seller when you're doing something like that.
Yeah.
So that is the benefit that I learned working with the wholesaling companies, how to talk to sellers about that, so that when I transition into a TC, which I do find a lot of TCs don't like to do, is they don't like talking to sellers. And I don't think that they can't. I think it's just they're not familiar with it and they don't want to mess the deal up. So they refrain from doing it and they just email. But what you'll find in these types of transactions is that these sellers a lot of times want somebody to reach out to them directly. They're older, they're not tech savvy, right? And just
Yeah.
having that person,
Yeah.
this is a massive thing for them. They're selling a house.
Yeah.
And so having that personal connection, I think really, it just speaks world to not only like your company, but also whoever you're working for in their company, because that's how they were able to land the deal, right? Is having that empathy and talking through that with them. And
Right.
so if you just all of a sudden cut that off and now it's straight email, that's just not a good transition in my opinion.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, I mean, working for a wholesaling company, that is a benefit to it. However, saying that, I don't think a new TC would need to go into that. I would just look for a company that has those processes in place and can help you through it. Do you guys talk to sellers, right? Is that part of your TC process? Because everyone's TC process is different. Do you talk to sellers? Do you talk to the buyers? If you do, great. I would love to be able to learn from you.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where as you're interviewing and what to look for in a team, that's something that I would personally look for, because I don't, it almost not makes you stand out, because you should be doing that anyways of
Hmm.
talking to the seller, but it just helps to bridge that gap for you. So it's a little bit more
Yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. That personal connection, like you say, and being willing to just slow it down and answer their questions so that they feel comfortable with the whole process and know that
Yep.
they have someone they can talk to and call and ask their questions to. And it's not all
Yeah.
digital for them.
And and it's harder because they've never done this before. They're not an expert in real estate, right? We do
Right.
this and we don't think twice about it because it's just you keep going and it's the
Yeah.
same thing pretty much every time. But when this is new to somebody and this is such a big thing for them of selling a house,
Yeah.
they need a lot more. They deserve to have a lot more of like their questions answered and walking them through the process and keeping them updated. And again, it's just a better reflection on your client.
Yeah.
You're that third party, but you're also an extension of your client's business. And so you
Right.
really need to show up for them because they're entrusting this deal with you. That's the other thing that wholesaling really taught me that I don't think new TCs need to learn, but they need to be cognizant of how much time goes into getting that deal. Like
Mm.
that deal takes so much time, money, effort, emotions,
Yeah.
everything. And so for you to come in and not really take the same type of care that, let's say, like the wholesaler, right? They're entrusting you with this.
Yeah.
And so you got to carry it like it's their baby to the finish
Yeah.
line.
Yeah. I love that. That's such a good perspective. Yeah. It's important. Very, very important. They're handing it off to you for to make the touchdown.
Yeah, yes, exactly. That's a great way to say it.
Love that. And back to the seller, yeah, it's scary for a seller even with a normal transaction, much less a creative one. So they're having to put a lot of faith in this like very strange process. So that's really cool you brought that out. You does your team or have you ever worked with TCing for any other transaction type besides real estate?
Ooh, so I do know that there's TCing for buying cars, for example, like
Oh,
vehicles.
okay. What
I've
about
personally never
businesses?
done it. Yes, businesses is another one. Sorry, I
Okay.
consider that real estate. I've
Okay.
TC'd a deal for a business before, and I know that one of my partners on the team actually does like commercial. She's a commercial broker, and she does
Cool.
a lot of like TCing for commercial deals.
Okay.
So
And
yes, you're
we're not
100%
just
correct.
talking about commercial real estate or real estate businesses, but actual just like any industry that you can imagine, just a
Yep,
buying and selling of
yep. So we did the one that I closed on actually was a car wash.
cool. Okay.
Yeah. So that was when it came, and again, like you kind of gotta like whenever you get a deal, even if you don't know how to do it when you first start, what
Hmm.
I like to do is be upfront of like, I've never done this before, but I'll help you figure it out.
Yeah.
Just like you
Yeah.
do with anything, right? I've never done this before, but I'd absolutely love to help you figure it out because for the most part, most transactions are the same thing. It's just the type of paperwork and what you need as you go through the process.
Exactly. Yeah. And probably pretty similar parties as well, I would
Yes,
imagine. Yeah.
exactly. A buyer or seller, and you need to have a or an attorney, or maybe like
All
the
right.
DMV if you're selling a car or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's cool. So really, the world of TCing is open-ended. I mean, you could specialize in real estate or you could specialize in businesses and or both. And there's just a ton of opportunity out there, it sounds like.
Yes, exactly.
That's
And
great.
pretty much like Pace has really like opened everyone's eyes up to how much you can. Sorry, my dog's in the background.
It's okay.
I need to get noise canceling headphones. I just haven't yet.
No, it's
But
totally
yes,
fine.
vehicles, like it's crazy how much that you can, but anything you can purchase, I mean, if you think about it, you can really do creative financing.
I love it. It's so exciting. Well, this has been so fun. Is there anything that you can think of maybe that I didn't ask that you would like to just express to the audience?
I would
about?
just say the biggest thing, like when I first started, the biggest thing is like just keep saying yes and just keep moving forward because you will figure it out and then you'll continue to get that experience. A lot of times I see newer TCs get scared because they don't want to mess the deal up. But being part of a community, or even if you're not part of a community, then find somebody. There's enough TCs out there, even if you're not part of top tier, but you know an experienced TC, join up with them, ask to shadow, ask to JV. And it's one of those things where the more experience that you can get, you're just going to keep building that confidence. And so even if you don't know how to do it, even if you've never done it, do it.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
that's just like the biggest thing that's how I've kind of gotten to where I've gotten is like I just wasn't scared to take a file on and I'm
Yeah.
still getting files that I'm like, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do this, but we're going to figure it out. And
Yeah.
that's when you consult with people. And that's also why I love that Molly built this top tier community because
Mhm.
there's so many avenues to ask questions and talk to other people and get their experience on things.
Yeah.
It's just, it's phenomenal. It's a really cool opportunity.
And the people are so cool. Like now I've met you and I love your energy and I love your can-do attitude. And you're like, if someone else can do it, I can do it,
Yeah, pretty
and
much.
I'll figure it out. And, just kind of like driving down the highway at, nighttime, you can only see as far as your headlights go, but you'll figure it out. You'll make the
Yep.
decisions as you have to.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone starts somewhere. And there's still, again, like creative financing is so big and people are constantly thinking of new ways to do things that you
Yeah.
could be doing this for 5 years and somebody could bring you something and you're like, I've never done this before. So it
That's all.
doesn't matter if you're brand new or if you've been doing this for 3, 4, 5 years,
That's
you
a
could
good
still
point.
come across something that you don't know how to do.
Yeah.
Now, if you're more experienced, you're probably like, more inclined to say yes and you have a little bit more of like problem solving skills.
Yeah.
But still, as a newbie, you can still have those problem solving skills
Sure.
and
Sure.
figuring it out. So
And then there's the team. So you always have people to ask and to support you. And then just what I'm getting really clear on is just the personality and the dynamics of the TC world is full of people like you. And
yeah,
that makes it really special.
yeah,
People that want to lift other people up above their shoulders and support one another and, just form this bond and working relationship. It's pretty special, really. I mean, coming from the corporate world, the energy that I feel from you and like Avita and others I've talked with is, like I said, just really special, unique.
yeah. Yes. And it's nice being surrounded by people that are similar to you because sometimes,
Yes, yes. And even similar, like personal lifestyles. I think it was Molly who had mentioned on one of her videos that she loves to go outside and put her feet in the grass and ground while she's watching her horses.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that is so me. Like
Yeah.
I do that all the time. I love to ground and I love to just hang out with my animals and
Yeah.
so a community of people that has the same interests as well on personal level.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like COVID has really made virtual,
Yeah.
like it's just blown it up. And it's quite interesting that I pretty much most of my friends I'll say well virtual and I've never met them in person. So, but I talk to them all the time, right? Like I talk to them
Right.
like almost every day, if not every other day. And so, but
Right.
I'm like, one day when we meet, it's going to be so awesome. So
Yes.
yeah, it's been
Yes.
the community has been huge. And for me, it's just been, I just feel like I fit in somewhere, right? Like I'm
Yes.
surrounded by people that I actually fit in with. And so that's just a really good feeling.
So
And it,
good.
like exactly like you're saying, like you just bring each other up, even if you have a really hard deal, being able to talk to
Yeah.
somebody about it and having them actually understand what you're going through. Because I love my husband, but if I talk to him about a deal, he doesn't get it. And that's okay. But
Right.
he
It's
just,
okay.
sometimes he's like, what about this? And I'm like, I just need a vent right now. Like, just
Yeah.
listen,
Yeah.
But talking to your TC friends, it's a lot easier because
They're
they
speaking the
get it.
same language.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you. They're speaking the same language.
That's
So,
so cool. Well, speaking of meeting in person, I am signed up for the Squad 25, so I can't wait to hopefully meet you
yes,
there in
I'm going.
person.
I'm very excited.
Yeah, good. What state are you from?
West Virginia.
Very cool.
So
Okay,
I
okay.
live in West Virginia. I'm from Maryland originally.
Nice. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I've never been up north yet. I just moved to Florida from
Oh,
Idaho. So,
wow. Okay.
yeah,
Very
and
cool.
we're about to have my third hurricane in the last like month and a half.
Where are you? What part of Florida?
Thankfully, I'm in Ocala,
Okay.
and it's like northern central. And in the past, they've never been hit with like major damage. So, but this one that they're talking about in the news right now
Hurricane Milton. Yeah.
yeah, I guess it just got upgraded to a category 5. So it's
Yes.
kind of making me feel a little nervous. But I mean, I just got here in July, so it's
Welcome
interesting.
to Florida. Yeah, you guys weren't hit that hard by The hurricane that would just
Right, Helena.
happened. I'm also an operator for short-term property management company,
Mhm.
and they have long-term rentals in Ocala, but they also have properties in like Davenport, Kissimmee, Orlando.
Yes.
So it has been like full throttle. Today we're like hurricane preparation
Yeah.
for right now. It's supposed to hit on Wednesday, and I'm like, oh,
Wednesday morning or Wednesday evening? I need to watch the news.
that's actually a good question. I just know it's hitting Wednesday, so we're just
Okay.
preparing for
Yeah.
Wednesday. So
Yeah. Yeah. After this interview's over, I was gonna go shopping and do my preparation, but
yes,
well,
yeah.
that's cool. Yeah, and so one day, part of my goals is to like travel up. I've never been on the East Coast before, so
Oh, okay,
I have so much to experience, and maybe I'll get a
absolutely,
chance to meet you that way as well. Just come and
yeah.
meet, visit your state. That'd be fun.
Yes, if you love outdoor, well, we have
I
indoor and
do.
outdoor stuff, but yeah, West Virginia is absolutely gorgeous.
But that's so cool. Yeah, I'm completely a country girl, so
Okay.
that sounds great.
Very nice. Well, yeah, that makes sense. You moved from Idaho, so
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, this has been so fun. I'm so honored to have met you. Thank you so much for answering all these questions and giving us a taste of what life is like as a TC.
yes.
And it seems very appealing. And I think that anybody that's interested in it should probably reach out to you. Do you happen to have any need to like put out your information as far as for people to contact you? Like, I don't know how that works with you, but
Yeah, good question. So they can reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook. I'm pretty active there. Yeah. So Instagram, I'm under True Flow TC, but True is TRU, and then Flow FLOWTC, letter T, letter C. And then Facebook, I'm Chelsea Westover.
perfect. Perfect. Okay, sounds great. So yeah, everyone has a resource in Chelsea, and yeah, I look forward to meeting you in person pretty soon.
Yes, I'm really, really looking forward to it. And thank you again for having me on. This has been super fun.
Thank you as well. All right, take care.
You too. Bye.